It's a harmless mistake, right? But then, the stranger on the other end doesn't just reply, they know things about you that no one should know. They mention your school, your favorite hangout spots, even your recent breakup. Suddenly, a simple text turns into a chilling encounter that makes you question everything. Elite Daily. Wikipedia. This isn't just a story, it's a reality that many teens face today. In a world where our lives are increasingly shared online, privacy has become a luxury. But what happens when that privacy is invaded by a stranger who seems to know more about you than your closest friends? In this video, you're going to hear the story of a teen who experienced this firsthand. What started as an innocent mistake spiraled into a nightmare that left her and her family reeling. But the most unsettling part: the stranger's knowledge wasn't just coincidental. It was deliberate, calculated, and terrifyingly accurate. Stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you'll understand how easily our personal information can be accessed and misused, and what you can do to protect yourself. She was just like any other teenager trying to navigate the ups and downs of high school life, caught between the excitement of new friendships and the pressures of fitting in. For the past few weeks, her world had been a whirlwind: endless group chats, late-night texts, and the usual drama that comes with being a teen in 2025. She'd recently gone through a tough breakup that had left her feeling vulnerable, and even though she tried to move on, her ex still popped up in her mind more often than she wanted. That breakup wasn't the only thing weighing on her. School projects, family expectations, and the constant buzz of social media kept her on edge. She had started spending more time scrolling through TikTok and YouTube, looking for distractions, watching everything from viral dance challenges to true crime stories. But nothing could have prepared her for what was about to unfold. On the evening she texted that wrong number, she was sitting alone in her room, the glow of her phone lighting up her face as she tried to connect with a friend about weekend plans. The message was casual, nothing suspicious, but when the reply came back, it was like a jolt of electricity ran through her veins. The stranger's words were chilling. They mentioned a detail about her that she hadn't even told her closest friends, something she thought was locked away deep inside her personal world. At first, she thought it was some kind of prank or coincidence, maybe someone messing with her for laughs, but then the messages kept coming, each one more unnerving than the last. The stranger seemed to know about the places she frequented, the names of people she barely mentioned out loud, and even moments she thought were private. It was as if someone had been watching her life unfold from behind a screen, patiently gathering pieces of her story. She tried to shake it off, thinking maybe it was just a hacker or a stalker with too much time on their hands, but deep down, she felt something far more personal at play. The days that followed only deepened the mystery. She started noticing strange things, like her phone battery draining faster than usual, or odd notifications she didn't recognize. Her friends began whispering about weird messages they'd received, but none of them had experienced anything as invasive as what she was going through. Was it someone from school? Maybe an ex jealous about their breakup? Or was it someone she trusted, hiding behind a mask? The more she thought about it, the more she questioned who really knew her and what their intentions were. People who once seemed harmless started to look suspicious, and every casual glance felt loaded with unspoken secrets. Was this all a coincidence, or was there a deeper reason why this stranger had her number and so much information? She couldn't tell who was a friend and who might be the real threat, and that uncertainty gnawed at her every waking moment. With every new message, every new clue, the line between reality and paranoia blurred, leaving her trapped in a game where the rules were unknown and the stakes were terrifyingly high. Now, as you watch this unfold, think about your own life. How much of it is really private? How easy would it be for someone to piece together your story just from what you share online or with friends? This is not just a teen's nightmare, it's a wake-up call for all of us living in a world where digital footprints can turn into dangerous trails. So stay with me, because the twists are only just beginning. What started as a wrong text could lead to a revelation that will shock you, and trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. The truth behind who this stranger is, how they knew so much, and what they really want is about to come to light, and it's far more complicated and chilling than anyone could have guessed. Keep watching, because by the end of this video, you'll see why this story has everyone talking and why it might just change how you think about texting strangers forever. Just when she thought she might start piecing things together, the mystery twisted into something even more confusing and unsettling. A day after receiving a message that seemed to hint at a secret from her past, something she hadn't thought about in years, she noticed her phone acting weird again. But this time, it wasn't just battery drain or odd notifications. When she went to check the messages, a key conversation had vanished. The texts that clearly pointed to who might be behind this whole nightmare disappeared without a trace, as if someone had wiped them clean. Panic set in. How could a message just vanish? Was someone watching her phone remotely? Trying to erase evidence before she could act on it? She tried to show her friends, but there was nothing to prove what she'd just seen. It was like the digital ghost of the stranger was toying with her, always one step ahead. Then came the warning, a cold, chilling message that wasn't from the stranger but someone else entirely. "Stop digging," it said. "Some things are better left buried." No name, no explanation, just a stark command that made her heart race. Who was sending these? Was it a friend trying to protect her, or someone else involved in the web of secrets surrounding her? Suddenly, the lines between ally and enemy blurred. She began to second-guess everyone around her. The classmates who had been supportive. The teachers who seemed too curious about her late-night texts. Even her own family started to feel distant, wrapped up in their own worries but unaware of the danger closing in on her. As if that wasn't enough, she stumbled onto a long-buried event from her past, something her parents never wanted her to remember, a betrayal that had been kept secret for years. It wasn't clear at first how it connected to the current situation, but the pieces started to fit in a way that made her question everything she thought she knew about her own life. Was this stranger tied to that hidden past? Was the whole haunting series of messages a way to pull her back into something dangerous? She tried to reach out to the one person she thought she could trust, only to find that they, too, had their own secrets. Their support felt less certain and more like a calculated move, leaving her unsure whether she was being helped or manipulated. Every day brought new challenges, lost evidence, cryptic warnings, and the growing sense that someone was always watching. She wasn't just texting a wrong number anymore, she was caught in a web of deception and hidden motives, with every step forward making it harder to see who was on her side. The fear wasn't just about the stranger anymore, it was about the people closest to her, the past she'd tried to forget, and the truth that was slipping just out of reach. And then, just as she thought she might finally uncover the identity of the person behind it all, a message came through that changed everything. It wasn't from the stranger, or any of the people she knew, it was from herself. Or at least, it looked like her number. But the message didn't sound like her. It was a warning. And it wasn't meant for her. What did it mean? Who was pretending to be her? And why? And how deep did this secret go? That's where the story takes a turn you won't see coming. Stick with me, because the next part will reveal just how tangled this mystery really is, and why the truth might be more dangerous than she ever imagined. Don't go anywhere, because everything you think you know is about to be challenged. Just as she was trying to process the eerie message that appeared to come from her own number, the situation spiraled even further out of control. It wasn't just her anymore, someone else close to her was suddenly pulled into the chaos. Her best friend, the one person she thought she could rely on without question, started receiving strange texts that mirrored the ones she'd been getting. At first, they seemed unrelated, just random creepy messages that could be ignored, but then they began to contain details only someone with intimate knowledge could know. Things her friend had never shared with anyone, not even her. It was as if the stranger's web was expanding, reaching out to entangle more people in the mystery. The messages hinted at secrets buried deep within their shared past, secrets that neither of them fully understood until now. Suddenly, the problem was no longer isolated, it was spreading, infecting the lives of those closest to her, and making it impossible to trust anyone around her. Meanwhile, a new piece of evidence surfaced that threw everything she had believed into doubt. While digging through old messages and photos, she found an anomaly, an image sent months ago by someone she thought was harmless, a casual acquaintance she had never really paid much attention to. But the photo had been digitally altered, hiding something in the background that no one noticed before. It suggested a presence that contradicted everything she and her friends had assumed about who might be behind the texts. This revelation didn't just open a new door, it blew the entire case wide open, forcing her to reconsider every person who had crossed her path. Suddenly, even those who seemed to be victims themselves could be suspects, and the trust she'd placed in familiar faces started to crumble. The tension became almost unbearable as she realized that the stranger's knowledge went beyond just surface-level details. It was as if this person, or people, knew every move she made, every thought she dared to share. The line between friend and foe blurred so much that paranoia crept in, making every interaction feel like a test, every glance a possible betrayal. She caught herself wondering if anyone's motives were pure, or if they were all playing some hidden game. The once comforting walls of her home felt suffocating, a place where secrets lurked in every shadow. She started to question her own memories, doubting what she'd seen or heard, and struggling to keep a grip on reality. The stakes were rising fast, and what began as a wrong number text had morphed into a dangerous puzzle that threatened not only her privacy but her very sense of safety. As this secondary storyline unfolded, it became clear that the mystery was much larger and more complicated than she could have imagined. There were layers upon layers of deception, and every step closer to the truth only seemed to deepen the confusion. The people who were supposed to protect her might be part of the problem, and those she thought were strangers could hold the key to everything. This isn't just a teen drama, it's a chilling reminder of how fragile trust can be in a world where technology connects us all, but also exposes our darkest vulnerabilities. So, stay with me, because the next revelations will push the boundaries of what you think is possible and keep you guessing until the very last second. The answers are out there, but finding them might come at a cost she and you never expected. The night everything changed came without warning, like a shadow slipping silently through the cracks of her life. She had been feeling on edge for days, a gnawing sense of unease that she tried to push aside, convincing herself it was just stress, the kind every teenager feels when everything feels out of control. But that night, as she walked home from a friend's house, her instincts screamed that something was wrong. The streetlights flickered, casting long, distorted shadows, and the usual comforting buzz of the neighborhood felt muted, almost hostile. At first, she thought it was just her imagination playing tricks on her, but then she noticed the figure trailing a few paces behind her, a silhouette that matched no one she knew. Her heart pounded so loudly she was sure anyone nearby could hear it, and every step she took felt heavier, as if the very air was closing in around her. She quickened her pace, but the figure didn't fall back. A cold wave of panic washed over her, the same panic that grips you when you realize you're being hunted. The next morning brought no relief. Her best friend, the one who had also started receiving those eerie messages, suddenly vanished without a trace. No calls, no texts, no signs of where she'd gone. It was as if she had been swallowed by the night, leaving behind only the chilling echo of silence. The police took the disappearance seriously, but without leads, all they could do was offer hollow reassurances. Then came the ultimatum, a demand that tore through her like a lightning strike. Stop digging into the past or lose everything, her friendships, her family's trust, and most painfully, her own sense of safety. The choice was brutal and impossible. To stay silent meant living in fear, trapped by lies and manipulation, but to keep fighting risked exposing secrets that could ruin not just her life, but the lives of those she cared about most. The emotional turmoil was unbearable. Every time she tried to sleep, her mind raced with memories, doubts, and the terrifying what ifs. What if she was wrong about someone she accused? What if the truth was worse than the lies? The paranoia crept deeper, whispering that anyone could be the next threat, that the very people she leaned on could be the ones pushing her to the edge. It was a lonely battle, one where every step forward was met with resistance, every ally shadowed by suspicion. What made it even harder was the gnawing fear that this wasn't just about her anymore. Her friend's disappearance still haunted her, and the longer the silence stretched, the more she feared the worst, that her friend was caught in something far more dangerous, and maybe, just maybe, the ultimatum wasn't just a threat to her but a warning about what awaited anyone who dared to challenge the secret forces at play. The stakes had never been higher, and the line between survival and surrender was razor-thin. The night felt colder, lonelier, as she realized that in this twisted game of secrets and lies, the truth might not set her free, it might be the very thing that destroyed her. Yet, despite everything, something deep inside refused to let go. The burning need to know, to uncover the hidden agenda and expose the real puppet masters, pushed her forward, even as the shadows closed in tighter. With every passing moment, the tension tightened like a noose around her world, threatening to unravel the fragile threads holding her life together. Her phone buzzed again, the screen lighting up with a message that chilled her to the bone. Your choice defines everything. Choose wisely. The words weren't just a warning, they were a challenge, a twisted invitation into darkness with no clear way out. And in that moment, with the weight of impossible choices pressing down, she understood that this story wasn't just about a wrong number or a stranger who knew too much. It was about the fight to reclaim her life from forces she barely understood, a fight that would test every ounce of courage she had left. But which path would she choose? The one that promised safety but silence, or the one that risked everything for the truth? The answer was still out there, hidden in the shadows, waiting for her to take the next step. And as you watch, remember, sometimes the hardest battles are the ones fought within. The truth crashed down like a tidal wave, swallowing everything she thought was real and leaving her gasping in its wake. The conspiracy wasn't just a twisted game played on her and her friend, it was something far bigger, far darker, and more terrifying than she could have ever imagined. What started as a few mysterious texts had spiraled into a web so vast that it stretched well beyond her small circle, touching lives she never knew were connected. She discovered that this wasn't just about secrets or personal vendettas, it was a calculated, ruthless operation involving people in places she trusted most: classmates, teachers, even adults who were supposed to protect them. Every familiar face suddenly felt like a mask hiding a dangerous agenda, and the stakes weren't just about her safety anymore, they were about exposing a system built on manipulation and control. The shocking betrayal came in the form of someone she never suspected, someone whose support had been her lifeline through the darkest days. They had been feeding information to the very people orchestrating the threats, playing both sides with chilling precision. The revelation hit her like a punch to the gut. This person wasn't just a traitor but a key player in the conspiracy, their motives tangled with greed, fear, and long-hidden grudges. Suddenly, every conversation they'd had, every promise made, felt like a lie crafted to keep her in the dark. The sense of isolation deepened as she realized that trust was a fragile, dangerous thing in a world where betrayal lurked just beneath the surface. Her heart pounded as she pieced together how deep the deception went and how little time she had left to act. The pressure mounted with every passing moment. Messages flooded in faster, each one a taunt, a reminder that the people watching her were always one step ahead, always ready to tighten the noose. The danger was no longer just a shadow in the distance, it was breathing down her neck, a constant threat she couldn't escape. Her nights were sleepless, filled with frantic planning and whispered phone calls, trying to stay ahead of enemies who seemed to know her every move before she made it. The line between ally and adversary blurred into nothingness, and the fear of being alone was overwhelming. But amid the chaos, a fierce determination burned brighter than ever. She knew that backing down meant surrendering to the darkness, and that wasn't an option. The people who had been caught in this nightmare with her deserved the truth, no matter how dangerous it was to reveal. As the pieces snapped into place, the scale of the conspiracy became terrifyingly clear: a vast network of secrets, lies, and silent threats designed to keep control tightly in the hands of a few. This was no simple revenge or cyberbullying gone wrong. It was a chilling reminder of how power could be abused in the shadows, and how the cost of uncovering the truth could be higher than she ever imagined. The clock was ticking, and with every heartbeat, the danger surged closer. And then, just when she thought she had to make a move, a new message arrived, a final, brutal challenge that left her breathless. You're in deeper than you know. Choose now, disappear or destroy everything. In that moment, the stakes were crystal clear, and the fight for the truth had reached a breaking point. This wasn't just her story anymore, it was a battle that could change everything, and there was no turning back. The night she'd been dreading finally arrived, heavy with a tension so thick it felt like the air itself was suffocating. Every nerve in her body screamed that this was the moment where all the threads of mystery, betrayal, and fear would either snap or tie together in a way that could no longer be undone. Armed with the scattered pieces of evidence she had painstakingly gathered, fragments of conversations, cryptic messages, and that one final confession hidden deep in a forgotten chat, she stepped into the place where everything began to unravel. An abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town, where shadows danced between broken windows and silence threatened to swallow her whole. The dim light flickered as she entered, her breath visible in the cold air, heart pounding louder than any footsteps. She wasn't alone. The person behind it all waited for her there, someone she'd thought was a friend, someone whose face she'd seen in the chaos but whose true intentions had remained a terrifying mystery until now. Their confrontation wasn't just a battle of words but a psychological war that cut deeper than any physical wound. The villain's calm, measured voice contrasted sharply with her rising panic and fury, each revelation peeling back layers of manipulation that had woven through her life like poison. They confessed to orchestrating the entire nightmare, from the wrong number texts that started it all to the disappearances and threats meant to keep her silent. It wasn't about random cruelty, it was about power, control, and a dark secret they were desperate to protect. But what made the confrontation unbearable was the chilling realization that the villain's motives were rooted not in hatred but in a warped sense of justice, convinced that their actions were necessary sacrifices for a greater good. She felt her world tilt as the lines between right and wrong blurred into a dangerous gray, forcing her to question her own assumptions and the very nature of truth. Just when she thought she had the upper hand, when her voice was steady with the certainty that exposing the villain would end the nightmare, the final piece of evidence fell into place, something so unexpected that it shattered the entire narrative. A hidden recording, uncovered in a desperate last-minute search, revealed not only the villain's manipulation but also a deeper conspiracy. A secret network operating behind the scenes, pulling strings far beyond what either of them had imagined. The person she confronted was only one player in a much larger, more insidious game, and the stakes were now higher than ever. The villain's calm cracked for the first time, revealing a flicker of fear, not for themselves, but for the shadowy forces that could still destroy them both. In that moment, the fight shifted from a personal vendetta to a battle for survival against an unseen enemy. The climax surged forward with a desperate intensity. She realized that her greatest weapon wasn't just exposing the villain but uniting the fractured pieces of her life, her missing friend, the suspicious allies, even those who had betrayed her, in a fight against the bigger threat. The warehouse became a battleground not just of confrontation but of revelation, as truths spilled out and alliances formed in the flickering darkness. But just as the tension reached its peak, when hope seemed to flicker like a fragile flame, the final, crushing twist landed. The person who had helped her the most, the one she trusted above all else, was revealed to be an integral part of the conspiracy. Their loyalty a carefully crafted illusion designed to guide her exactly where the puppet masters wanted. The shock knocked the breath from her lungs, leaving her questioning everything once again. This wasn't just a story about a wrong number or a stranger knowing too much, it was a labyrinth of deception that might never be fully escaped. And as the warehouse door slammed shut behind her, leaving her trapped in the cold shadows with enemies both seen and unseen, she understood that the true fight had only just begun. After the chaos, the lies, and the nightmarish revelations, the dust finally settled, but the scars remained deep, raw, and impossible to forget. She walked away from the wreckage of that warehouse with a new understanding of the world around her, one that was darker and far more complicated than she ever wanted to admit. The villain was exposed, their network fractured, but the shadows they had cast lingered like a haunting echo. Her missing friend was found, shaken but alive, a testament to the fragile hope that had never quite disappeared. The people who had betrayed her faced consequences, yet she knew that some wounds couldn't be healed by justice alone. The truth she uncovered wasn't neat or tidy, it was messy, filled with gray areas and uncomfortable questions about trust, power, and the cost of secrecy. She realized that sometimes, the answers don't bring peace, they bring clarity, and with clarity comes the hard choice of how to live in a world where darkness can hide behind even the brightest smiles. Though the immediate danger had passed, she couldn't shake the feeling that the story wasn't over, not really. The final messages, the twisted alliances, and the secret networks hinted at something bigger, something lurking just beyond the edges of what she had seen. The last text she received, cryptic and chilling, reminded her that the game had changed but was far from finished. It was a warning, a reminder that the past isn't easily buried, and that sometimes, the most terrifying mysteries are the ones we carry inside ourselves. As she tried to rebuild her life, reconnecting with those she trusted and learning to trust herself again, the weight of what happened stayed with her, a silent pulse beneath the surface, shaping every decision, every glance over her shoulder. The experience transformed her, not just as a victim or a survivor, but as someone who understood the fragile balance between truth and illusion, safety and danger. For the audience watching this unfold, the story leaves a lingering question. How often do we really know the people around us? How many secrets lie hidden beneath the surface of everyday life, waiting to be uncovered? And when the truth finally comes to light, are we ready to face the consequences? The mystery of the wrong number was never just about a mistaken text or a stranger's knowledge, it was a mirror reflecting the complexities of trust, the dangers of secrets, and the resilience it takes to fight for your own truth. As the screen fades to black and the credits roll, you're left with more than just answers, you're left with a challenge: to look closer, to question deeper, and to remember that sometimes, the most ordinary moments hide the darkest stories. And maybe, just maybe, the stranger who knows too much is closer than you think.